Ajñāna-timirāndhasya jñānāñjana-śalākayā Cakṣur unmīlitaṁ yena tasmai śrī-gurave namaḥ. Okay. So my name is Rishi Aaradhaka, or Rishi Aaradhakananda is the complete name. I'm a monk in a spiritual organization called Bhakti Marga, which was founded by my spiritual master, Swami Vishwananda. The organization was founded in 2005, but Guruji has been traveling around and have been followers since he's a teenager. He was born in 78, so it's been many years where there's people always behind him trying to learn things. I met Guruji in 2011, but before that I was already in the spiritual path, in the yogic path. I was born in Brazil, so I was born in a very open spiritual mindset. My family was practicing Spiritism. It means like talking through mediums, through spirits, with some Christian background, but also open for Seichonoye, with like Japanese tradition and yogic tradition. And when I was a teenager, I became really, really interested. I was always interested about God in general, but in the end of my teenagerhood, it became something very serious, and I became a Kriya Yogi in the Yogananda lineage. And this became the serious thing, the serious part of my life. I was a musician and Kriya Yogi. That was my, so to say, identity. And the moment I came to Germany in 2007 in order to study music, I was still a Kriya Yogi on my private time. So he was living here and studying here and traveling, universities, courses, playing around and giving classes. But always very strict with my Kriya and my spiritual practices and readings. Eventually in 2011, I met Guruji, and then I had a big turning point in my life that led to me becoming a monk. We can maybe later go into details. I was married, I had a daughter that passed away when she was 6 years old. This all played a certain role in that story. And nowadays, my responsibility, I'm a Rishi. Rishi is these people who were read in our monastic hierarchy, let's say like this. There is brahmacharis, rishis, and swamis. So a Rishi has the obligation of teaching and spreading the spiritual life and the mission, or the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, of Guruji, of the spiritual lineage. You know? And particularly my service is connected to coordinating the whole music department of Bhakti Marga internationally. We are in over 60 countries, and more than maybe around 50 countries now have their own music department, and I coordinate the coordinators of each country. Also, everything that you hear music-wise on Spotify or YouTube related to Bhakti Marga, I have my hands in it. I coordinate and support. That's basically my main seva, apart from going around and talking and teaching. And so that's, in short, my life. The word Rishi means seer, the one who sees. When you become a Swami and you wear the orange, you're like an officially representative of Guruji in our mission. Swami literally means the master of the senses. It doesn't mean that all the Swamis mastered all their senses, but they are on the path to it. But they achieved a certain level of surrender that allows them to take this responsibility. Now we are everybody on the spiritual path is on their way of becoming saints, no? But in Guruji, he's the one who decides who becomes Rishi or Swami. Since he's here now on planet Earth, it's up to him to pick up. He said, you can become initiated now and take this responsibility upon yourself if you want. Of course, we can always say, no, I don't want. Yeah. And the Rishi means seer, but in the organization, let's say, in our spiritual tradition, it means somebody who is there to support the relationship between the devotees and Guruji and the Swamis. So the rishis of the past, they have darshans and visions of the Lord, and they have like written very important scriptures. Of course, let's say if you reduce this to a little small percentage, is similar, because we take the message of a spiritual master and we give it to the people, and we make them then understand what's the message of a spiritual master, you know. And we are daily diving into the scriptures and try to understand the deep meaning of the scriptures. So basically, there is a relationship with the ancient meaning of rishis, but nobody should think that because we have this name title that you are already enlightened and beyond that. We are on our path. We are on our way. Most of us have had spiritual experiences which are beyond normal, and through Guruji's grace, this kind of things happen, and has happened a couple of times. So that's why most of us can say from the experience side that there is something more to this life, something great even. I was born in a musician family, and it was very natural for me. Since very young I was playing music, and it was what satisfied me. I always had this connection with spirituality and music, so I kind of knew my life would be always connected to those things naturally. And I was working hard in the university, and the moment Guruji came to my life, let's say my little music career was in its peak in my life before I became a monk. I was playing with my university teachers. I was sometimes receiving a good income. I was teaching like 40 students in a week. Was not rich because I was playing jazz. So nobody becomes rich with jazz, no? But I was like a fine, let's say, starter middle class in Germany. Could have a nice Volvo and drive around and play all around Germany up and down. But I have to admit that there was a certain missing point inside of my heart. And there was this feeling of maybe I'm not good enough for that I expect to be. Because even though I was naturally always somehow in the top team, like when I was playing in the world, really, I was never the top person. And the music industry is very hard. There's no space for everyone to be on top. Huh? So I was playing around, playing along with it. I was not giving up apart from becoming a monk. But the moment that my life changed, it was a good thing. Let's say it like this. So I met Guruji, and my whole life I thought about this. If I meet my guru on planet Earth, because I thought my guru was Yogananda until I met Guruji. And then I understood the role of the incarnated spiritual master. He can give something to you that the not incarnated spiritual master cannot give, which is discipline and humility. You know, you need a person there that makes you humble, that shows you that you cannot just fantasize your spiritual way the whole time. Sometimes it makes you grounded and humble. And the moment I met this physical Sadguru, that I felt that soul connection, and I knew that in some sense my life belongs to that service, I was put against the wall, because I always thought, if this happens to me, the worldly life makes no sense anymore. It makes no sense to find such a master and split the life 50-50, you know? But I was still following his advices to my life. And as I said, when I met Guruji, I was married. She was a nice German lady who is my good friend now. She's also a devotee of Gurudeva. And Guruji was not saying anything against that relationship. He would never do anyway, this kind of things. And eventually, right in the beginning, I just met Gurudev, and she got pregnant. As I said, the baby was born with a heart condition called hypoplastic left heart syndrome, So the left side of the heart is a bit smaller than usual. On the 6th day, she passed away, and then Guruji made a miracle. She came back to life. The doctors told us we gave up, but we kept reanimating her. She came back. We don't know how she came back. We don't know how she's fine. She came back, and the moment I was talking to Guruji on the phone, Guruji was in another country. And then she lived 6 months with us after she made a small surgery. And on the arms of the grandmother, from mother's side, she left her body. There was 1% chance that this happens after that surgery. So she spent 6 months, and we have this family experience for 6 months. And throughout all of that, I was, of course, with Guruji, and being a full-time musician was a very full-time, those moments. But the moment that cycle closed, the moment family life was like interrupted, I had two options. I can understand that that part of my life is finished and a new part of my life has started, or I can restart everything from scratch. And the clear feeling in my heart was, no, I had the blessing in this life of working, playing, traveling different continents, making music, like proving to myself that I could do that. And then I have a nice family, I had a kid, I provide to the family, we made enough money, we recorded CDs. All these worldly wishes that I had, they have been fulfilled, and I was like 26 years old or 27. And I realized it was such a big blessing that I had all my wishes fulfilled before 30. And I could now start a new life at the feet of my spiritual master. And deep inside of my heart, I had a little fear. Because in my whole life, I only made music. Once in Mannheim, I was invited to sell ice cream in a fair in the streets. That was the only time I worked with anything in my life that was not music. And I was really literally exploited. They would pay me like €6 the hour, and I realized it was actually €5. Somebody was stealing €1 from me, the middle person, and treated really badly, like for the whole afternoon, and then trying to be forced to come back the other day. And I realized that's like, if I play 1 hour, I get €200 there on the corner. So that was the only time I worked with something that was not music. So I had this little fear that the moment I renounce in the ashram, that Guruji sees this fear, sees that attachment, and say, now you go to any other department and you do any other seva, any other service, which is not related to music. Just to work that inside of me. But I understood that is an attachment, and I said I have to face it. But my fear was anyway not justified, because straight away Guruji made me responsible for music for the whole organization. And then the moment I renounced and I was open of stopping it, I was open for not doing it anymore in my life, that fame outside the fame that I was chasing started chasing me. Because suddenly, without any expectations, we have music videos singing mantras and the holy name that got like 15, 16 million views and millions of views. And I walk in the streets of India, people recognize me, in any major city or any spiritual city, sometimes also in European cities. And like, when I stopped chasing it, by the grace of God, that came. When I was chasing it, it was not coming.
But the music you're doing now is devotional. It is in service of God. There's a difference.
Of course, I would say, quickly now from my head, there's two main differences, okay? One is the intention. Yeah, like Krishna clearly says in Bhagavad Gita, it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. You can do any activity as a spiritual activity if when you do this activity, your mind is on God. If you offer the fruits of every action to God, every activity is a spiritual activity. So the first difference is the attitude, why you're doing it. You're not doing it for your own self. You're doing it for pleasing that Supreme Lord that you love so much, with whom you want to build a relationship. You want to perceive Him. You want to feel Him. You want to dance with him. You want to love him more than you have ever loved anything in this life. That's the aim of the relationship. And you want to spread this prem, this divine love to other people to taste. So that's the attitude. That's the first difference. And the second difference is that in that music, you're always repeating Hari Nam, the name of Hari, the name of God. So, of course, spiritual music can be in different languages, in different cultures. And we do see saints in different languages, in different cultures. I'm talking about Sufi saints from Persia, from ancient, like Afghanistan. We're talking about Christian saints. There's so many. The Psalms of the Bible, they constantly say we have to worship and sing the name of God. They're always talking about the name. I'm always going to worship the name of God. There is something very special about God's name. And I do believe that there's no culture that's more ancient than the Indian culture. The people discuss, they say, oh, that's like Babylon, Iraq, or there's China. China and India anyway close to each other. But there are discussions, either Varanasi in India or China, they are the longest living civilizations, uninterrupted, more than 5,000 years, non-stop. There's people living and praying and chanting mantras. Don't forget that Buddhism came to China and Japan from India 2,000 years ago. So the name of God in Sanskrit, there's a special thing about it. The vibration carried in the word, the way I perceive is different. It's said that the Sanskrit letters, they have been created in the universe together with the creation of the universe. The Sanskrit alphabet, the sounds, they emerged, some people say they emerged from the heads of Brahma by the will of Lord Narayana. Our tradition says they emerged from the percussion instrument of Lord Shiva, when Shiva played his damarut, and then the Sanskrit letters and the musical notes emerged on the universe, right in the beginning of creation. So Sanskrit has a special vibration because it's been pronounced in this plane since the beginning of creation, according to Sanatana Dharma, according to the Hindu scriptures. So, and there is no difference between God and his names. God has thousands of names, but each name of God carries him fully. Like I was born Louis, eventually I got initiation, I became Tandav, and then I became Rishi Aaradhaka. But also meanwhile, I received many names from friends, nicknames, start like this. None of those names is my essence. These are all names given to me for a function. But with God is different. His names and him are the same thing. So the moment you pronounce God's names and you chant God's names and you let this vibration be inside of you, it's like you have the phone number of God. You connect with him. So that's the main difference of that kind of music. Even though you can have elaborated music, complex, simple, with many instruments, less instruments, the main thing is that you are repeating that mantra, that name. Mantra means man, mind, can be also heart, but in that specific sense, mind, tra, control. Through mantra, you learn to control the mind. And Krishna says in chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, the mind is the best friend when it's controlled, is the worst enemy when it's not controlled. That's why mantra is very important. Mantra and pranayama, breathing, because it makes you control the mind. And then you have this powerful tool to walk your path to God. When the mind is not controlled, misery is on its way. Depression is in every corner. Anxiety is in every corner of your life. Om is considered the first name of God as continuous vibration in the universe. Like God as vibration, Om is the anahata sound, is the unstruck sound. Is the sound that the ancient yogis, rishis, they hear throughout creation. Let's say when they have visions of because in ancient India, ancient scriptures have already talked about atomic level, cellular level, like microscopic things. They already have broken down creation, human body into many things, and they say that the Om vibration is the vibration that remains into all levels of the material existence and beyond. It's vibration wise, it's the matter that puts everything together. That's why yogis meditate on Om. They close their eyes and they try to perceive that sound of Om through creation. And eventually when they hear it, they attain a state of bliss. Spirituality is the inner nature of every soul. Spirituality is rediscovering your connection to the Supreme, what allows you to rediscover your real essence. The moment you ignore spirituality, you ignore the realm of the spirit, you become ignorant of your connection with God and the whole. So it's this path of discovery. That's why it's different from religion in a sense. Of course, the word religion means the same. It comes from Latin, religare, reconnect. Reconnect the human with God. That's the original meaning of religion. But of course, when we say the word religion, we think of dogmatism, we think of sets of rules that cannot be questioned, and authorities that are dogmatic and don't let you think for yourself. But I'm not talking about this religion. I'm talking about the real essence of religion. When the human being disconnects with his essence, what happens is life becomes, there's no real joy in life. There's no real sense in existence. And that's why there is so much depression, even in all academic cycles, levels. Like I've been, until I became a monk, I was always in the academy, in music academy, but always in the universities. I grew up in and out of universities. My parents also worked partially in the music university. And I visited philosophy courses and sociology courses and everything, and have many academic friends. And that knowledge of the mind doesn't guarantee that you are able to control the mind and feel that inner satisfaction that everybody searches. Because that inner satisfaction only arises when you rediscover for yourself the connection between you and God. Spirituality is the journey of looking inward and being humble enough to face your inner demons, open this portal, and reconnect to God. And there's many, many, many paths to it. I'm not saying that all the paths are the same, but there's no doubt that eventually they will lead to the same. The paths are not the same, but they will lead eventually to the same. Maybe one might bring you in one life, maybe other path might bring you in different lives, in many lives. Some might be faster, some might be slower, some might be sweeter, some might be harder, but the path is the same because there's no different ultimate gods. Every religion talks about one supreme God, including Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism. The idea that Hinduism is a polytheist religion is very wrong. And every Hindu scholar talks about that, but the West keeps ignoring it. The West keeps ignoring it. There's not millions of gods. You can say it when you are like speaking quickly, but there's million forms, aspects of God. But there's one supreme God. And there is names that they give to the supreme God, which are common between all the sects of Hindu religion, like Parabrahma, Ishvara. These names mean supreme God. Ishvara means the supreme control of everything. Parabrahman is this supreme all-pervasive God, or Vasudeva. And then they develop attributes and qualities to their gods in India, and then they might discuss what is that supreme form for the supreme God. And there is most of the scriptures point to Sriman Narayana. That is the supreme personality, that is that Parabrahma, that is that Supreme God. That's my lineage also believes in that. Some others believe it's Lord Shiva. Some others believe it's just formless. There is no cosmic form to that Supreme Lord. Doesn't matter. But in Hinduism, there's always one supreme deity. Always. So it's good to clarify that, because there's something that is very disturbing. How Indian spirituality is so often purposely ignored and not discussed. When they talk about the age of science, of spirituality, of society, of humankind, it feels like India overwhelms them. They're just like, ignore. If India is too overwhelming, let's keep it to the side, just not touch it. To a certain extent, I have respect to that attitude. I think to feel unworthy, it depends on where it comes from. If it comes from that ego shout, that's auto boycott, that self sabotage, that out of ego you are not engaged in life. That's not good. But there's a beauty in understanding our helplessness when we are not together with God. There is spiritual traditions that say, like normally in Advaita Vedanta, they believe they would say, I am God 100%. There's no difference between me and God. The moment I realize that my mind goes beyond illusion, beyond Maya, then I understand that zero difference between me and God at all. So for that kind of teaching, that goes totally against that kind of feeling. But Vaishnava saints, and also many Christian saints, for example, for them, that humility and helplessness is very important. Vaishnavas believe that, according to the teachers of Ramanujacharya and all the teachers that came after, and according to Bhagavad Gita itself, what Krishna told Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, the soul is part of God. Let's say there's a cosmic body of God, and each soul and each creation, each thing in the creation is part of that cosmic body, which is beyond our human comprehension, okay? And basically, you have to understand that we are the same as God in quality, but not in quantity. Your soul have qualities that God possesses, and some other qualities not, like omniscience. The moment you realize that you are part of God, many saints have displayed omniscience. My guru displays this the whole time. Many times I was thinking things, and then he told me what I was thinking, or he came to talk to me about the dream I had with him, and he continued the conversation I had in the dream. So that's possible, But let's say Baal, Vidya, like that divine power of creating a hurricane, that's not for every human being. So the soul has capacities which are godlike in quality, but not in quantity. It is nice to understand that you need guidance. You need guidance. Everybody needs guidance. You need guidance for everything in life. If our mother doesn't teach us how to brush the teeth, we don't even know how to brush our own teeth. We're gonna even chew the food wrongly. We cannot drive a car without learning how to drive a car. You cannot say, I'm gonna drive it my way. Maybe in some countries they can do it, not in Germany for sure.
What about those who believe in YouTube, and they go on YouTube and they're listening to these people, those channel the people, those throw some cards, and they look into the stars and then they predict the future?
That's dangerous. So I would say, only take advice from a real spiritual master. How to recognize a real spiritual master? You have a direct experience with that person, and you feel a heart connection. The signs of a spiritual master, When you are in the presence of a real spiritual master, the waves of your mind slow down. You feel, in the presence of such a person, you feel that you have no doubts. The moment you step away, the doubts come back. That's a clear sign of being in the presence of a great saint, of a spiritual master. Don't trust anybody in the internet. Don't trust anybody doing any sort of cheap astrology. I'm not talking against astrology, but don't trust this blindly. For sure, intuition is the most important. Intuition is very important. Even if you have a guru, you have to learn how to follow your intuition. But the mind is so quick that we don't understand what is our intuition. And sometimes we call intuition what we want to believe. That's where sometimes it's good to have guidance. So you have to learn both things. You have to learn how to walk by yourself, and you have to learn how to humbly follow guidance. The true spiritual master will show you how to walk by yourself.
Do we have a system like I would suspect what differences makes between us and a machine? We have a lot of artificial intelligence now popping up like mushrooms in this world, is our capacity to feel. So if I observe myself, then I'm listening to someone talking and I somehow feel inside when it's true.
That first thought, that first feeling that comes in a fraction of a second before your mind steps in, usually is not even what you want to believe. That's the intuition. Is that very first thing that comes in your mind, usually not what pleases you. That's the intuition.
How can we train this type of intuition?
By observation and by humility. Observation and humility. You have to constantly observe your mind. Observing the mind. Understanding you are not the mind. If you can observe the mind, you are not the mind. And practice observing the impulses, observing the feelings, observing the mind, and then detach from the mind. That's an inner work which has to be constant, has to be daily.
There's those one they defend, yeah, man, you gotta know stuff, you know, you have to read the Upanishad and you have to listen to all this and read the books and learn and, you know, and the others, they say, no, no, just call the name of God and you're safe.
Devotion will be better if there's right knowledge there, because it's going to ground your devotion. But if somebody's heart is really pure, I have no doubt that without any knowledge, just with love for God and humility, God's going to come running to you. I'm pretty sure God prefers people with a pure heart and humility than people that has a lot of knowledge but arrogance. So knowledge is important. Devotion is definitely more important. But with the right attitude, again, one will support each another. So it's not a competition between the learned way and the devotional way. It's not a competition. They complement each other. In fact, all yogic paths complement each other. You can give emphasis to that's more natural to you. That's very, very fair. You know? It's said that there is as many paths to God as there are souls on planet Earth. So you should not compare yourself with other people. If for you it's very natural to study the scriptures and you feel that heart burning, like this is my thing, when I'm studying that, go for it. But also keep your element of devotion, of humility, of seva, of karma yoga, you know, keep all the other elements also as part of your life. If it's very hard for you to concentrate on the scriptures, you are always called just to chant the name of God. And then give emphasis to that. If none of those things are easy for you, but you feel more inclined to going out and helping the people with your hands and distributing food for people who need and giving service in the temples and doing charity work, give emphasis to that. But giving emphasis to one path doesn't mean ignoring all the other aspects of spirituality. So I think the healthy way, that's what I've been learning with my Guruji and with scriptures like the Gita, because the Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, they make you travel through all this. You know, Gita first says the best is karma yoga, the best is Sankhya yoga. Then suddenly in the Gita you learn the best is karma yoga, and then suddenly the best is dhyana yoga, and then suddenly the best is the secret knowledge with the devotional yoga, bhakti yoga, revealed in the 10th and 11th chapter, ultimately the 12th chapter, and then he goes and everything is better. Everything, there's a new universe every couple of chapters, and then in the very end, he says, now that you understood who is the Supreme Lord, that you had a vision of the Supreme Lord, and you studied all those paths, you have to learn the way of Sharanagati. Surrender everything to me, your thoughts, your actions. And if you learn to surrender everything to me and understand you are not in control, then naturally I will take care of you. And then it doesn't matter if it's the devotional path, if it's the shastric path, the learning path, if it's the charity path, the karma yoga path. Whatever you will be doing in the outside, inside you are giving it to God and He's taking control over it. The outcome is the same. But to achieve that level of surrender, you need to have a journey, a journey inside. That's why not only this, not only that. Give emphasis to that is more natural to you, but taste everything and make your life full. Don't ignore everything else. And interfaith studies are extremely important, in my opinion. Extremely important. Because I grew up with this mentality that all religions are the same. And it was so amazing to understand that they are not the same. And this is not a problem. But they are not the same. You cannot say they are the same. They are totally different sometimes. And we have to be able to face the truth with love and understanding. I seen in the world to be constantly saying that all religions are the same and all paths are the same has been more problematic than accepting and coexisting with the differences.
We have a new religion. There's a new family member. Now we have artificial intelligence. And it's promising the world to us. It will solve all our problems.
AI, it's just as good as since the invention of the computer to our lives. It's like the computer in its functions in a simple way or more complex way. It is the last invention of human beings. Everything else is in there until the end. It just has become more complex and it has taken over our life more. There is, of course, let's say if I'm analyzing humanly, we all know AI has two distinct paths and we will see what's going to happen. I don't believe, honestly, in the outside, the outcome is going to be positive. I'm just being honest to you. In the material sense, no? Because we could have AI doing all the works for all human beings. And human beings could just enjoy life in a constant holiday. Because the whole material richness will be produced by the machine instead of the person. It literally could do everything for everybody, and everybody could have free time to do music, to study philosophy, to travel. It could be. It's perfectly possible. In due time. Or AI is going to be used to restrict more the richness of the world, the wealth of the world to a specific group of people. We all know that. And other people who had simple jobs will even lose those jobs and they will not know how they're going to survive from there on. So these two directions are clear. In the spiritual sense, first, when you become a spiritual person, you should not worry. Yeah? You should trust God and don't worry. Let God take care of you. That's the first thing. Give your best in whatever you do, but not worrying. And the second thing, whatever AI bring to us, just take it without an I have to understand. I have to see that it has helped me in my ashram seva in many aspects. I'm now studying a book, a Vedanta book. I found AI called Notebook AI, not Notebook LM from Google. I put the book there, and the AI answers all the questions I have based only on the book that I uploaded. So I study the book nicely with that tool. You know, there's a lot of good things, but life is something that humans cannot recreate. To give life, and I already asked Guruji, you know, the people in Vrindavan and stuff, questions related to what can become in the future, in the far future even, with this kind of technologies. And I got very interesting answers. And one thing you can know, the human body is a much more complex machine than anything you can create. Much more. And an advanced soul will always choose that body, because that body is the last platform before you can reach Sri Hari, you can reach God. You need to go through the human body. You need to have the senses develop as we have, the mind develop as we have, and the heart, the chakras aligned in a way that that relationship with the Supreme God is possible. So if eventually they make like human-like machines that maybe will look like they are alive, the souls that will choose to incarnate on, if ever that could eventually happen in the far future, souls that will choose to incarnate in those kind of machines, they will be very, very low souls, not high consciousness. The high consciousness incarnates in a human body because the intention of the high consciousness is always to reach God, even if it takes some lives for that to blossom. But even if machines become alive, that life is not the same level of life that the human beings have. So usually, from what Guruji said, they'll say they will be always soulless, but he spoke in a way that there's a chance that very low forms of consciousness could incarnate there if we start mixing Gewebe, like human organs and tissues and stuff like this. The same when you talk to spiritist people, and even Guruji also confirmed that, like for example, fertilization in vitro. The mother cannot have the pregnancy in her side, and the baby is in the lab, like in a plastic or glass machine growing. This already exists. Only low souls choose to be born in those, because energetically it's totally different. You need the connection to the mother, you need the karmic connection, you need there's a certain spiritual energetic alignment for a soul to be born and reach and have a certain expression in life. So that we need to be aware of what's going to be coming towards us, but also Saint Tulsidas 500 years ago wrote in the Ramcharitamanas, in the Ramayana, he wrote, not even a leaf moves without the will of Ram, without the will of God. So that's where the devotee mentality takes over. We have to understand that everything that is happening is because humans have to pay their own karma. And this planet Earth is a perfect platform of enlightenment and of pain karma. This is Kurukshetra, Karma Kshetra, is the war field. Is heaven for some, is hell for another. It depends on your mentality is. So everything is happening, and in the most supreme way of understanding it, everything is fair. As hard as it is, you can only understand fairness if you can see the spectrum of all incarnation, of all lives, of all souls. In one incarnation, you can never understand fairness. So everything that's going to happen it's only happening because God wants, or because God allowed it to happen due to the law of karma. The law of karma works by itself. God just observes it. He created and he let it run. And when somebody really wants to get out of it, deep inside the heart, and then he takes you out of it. But you really have to long, really have to want it. That's the beauty of this creation. Biologically, okay, there is this spark that make another body be created inside of the body. That's already God's grace, obviously. But the life is when that soul incarnates in that body. If the soul doesn't go inside the body, there's no life. There's no even birth. It's just a natural abortion in the body, and the baby is going to come out without life. What happens for karmic reasons, many often. But you are not able to go on the lab. Let's say somebody died. Okay? With the person had a issue with the lungs. Let's say the doctors come and reconstruct the lungs, put everything together, close the body, and say, "Be alive." We are not able to make anybody alive. Life comes and goes. It's beyond our control. We can is part of our dharma as human beings to protect life. That's why the work of the doctors, of science, is very beautiful. Because to protect life on the human body is a very important dharma, because the human body is the greatest chance of the soul. There is a moment of being born and a moment of dying. When the moment of dying comes, no science is going to save you. But in between, our job is to protect this life the best we can, because every little chance that the soul has in this body is the most important chance. Human body, human life is such a gift. Why do you think that all these aliens come to observe us and try to understand? They don't understand what is love. And according to Sanatana Dharma, you have every universe has one planet Earth. And like in the cosmic body of the Lord, the planet Earth is in the heart center of the Lord. And that's the platform. You can be born anywhere in the universe, in any loka, but you have to come to Bhuloka, to the heart of Narayana, to be able to go to Vaikuntha, to go to that place, to that heaven beyond creation. The other lokas, the other planets where souls can be born, they are not a platform good enough for moksha, for liberation, according to Sanatana Dharma. So that's a very beautiful information, so you can be grateful for that planet and for that birth. Like this Hubble telescope like keeps looking for billions light years far away. Still they didn't find a planet where the 5 elements are so imbalanced like in here. Different galaxies, that's impossible. We could not, in 1,000 years, most probably our machines can still not travel so far as they have seen already now. They still didn't find a planet that is so imbalanced like the planet we live in. It's a very special planet. There is for sure life in other places of the universe and in different universes. That's for sure. And also Hinduism has been, and saints and rishis and gurus have been talking about that for thousands of years. But this planet is very special, and we can never, never lose the gratitude for this. We have to be grateful for this existence. Planet Earth is heaven and hell at the same time. It depends on your consciousness. In different continents, in different countries, sometimes in the same city you have heaven and hell. Sometimes the same house, in one head you have hell, in the other head you have heaven. So we have to understand our responsibility as humans. And that responsibility is to be happy and blissful. Because we cannot change the world. Obviously, everybody knows that. We can only change ourselves. And the change in ourselves is not to become a militant in judging others, but it's becoming the best human being you can be. And you can only be the best human being when you understand there is a relationship between your soul and God. And there is much more to life than what science can explain right now. As amazing as science is, it goes still much, much, much beyond that. So we need, if we want to be happy, we need to open our hearts to that divine love. If you don't open our hearts to that divine love, so that our soul reconnects to the Supreme Lord, real happiness is never going to be available. Never going to be available. I welcome everybody to come visit us in the ashram. Maybe have darshan with Guruji. Maybe sing some bhajan together with us. Just have a nice chat, drinking a tea in the corner. The ashram is always open here. Shree Peetha Nilaya, close to Frankfurt, like 45 minutes from Frankfurt, in the Rheingau-Taunus-Kreis. Beautiful area in Germany, in the forest. Everybody can come, and eventually maybe you have the chance to have a experience close by to an enlightened being. There is some in planet Earth, but they are still very, very rare. So when you hear about some, run. Don't miss the chance. Once a spiritual teacher was asked, if God is everywhere, why do we need to go to temples or to gurus? And then this teacher said, if there is air everywhere, why do you need a fan? Why do you need a ventilation? When you go to the temple, you can perceive God. When you are close to somebody who has had the realization of God, who has had the vision of God, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna perceive it much more than when you perceive by yourself. So have the humility to run, to visit great beings, have the humility to meditate and open your heart to God, because real bliss, real happiness is waiting just there on the other side of humility. We have to be humble, and then we can get there. That's the main message.